This video is sponsored by Full Reptile Collective, brought to you by Dan Hardy. Head over to their website at fullreptile.co.uk where you can find anything from training gear, t-shirts, hoodies, all the way to coffee. For an exclusive 10% off, use Dan Said So at checkout. Make sure to also check out their YouTube channel for some of the best MMA content out there, bar my own. Let's get back to the video. On ABC as well, guys, main card, Li Jingliang facing off against Muslim Salikhov, the incredible striker in Salikhov. I love him to bits. I think he's very, very underrated. And getting a win last time out over Francisco Trinaldo might seem a bit 2010, but Trinaldo's still winning consistently in the UFC, so it's not a bad one. Beating Zaleski, who is very underrated in my opinion. Staropoli, yeah, beating him up to bits. I mean, knocking out Nordin Talev, he's knocking out the guys he should be knocking out. I mean, the guy's an excellent striker. We don't have to go into too much about that. It's more to me how Li Jingliang looks because he gets beaten by a lot of the guys you shouldn't be beaten by. And that is Magny. If you're going to progress to the high levels, I think he needs to be beating people like Magny because you saw how Magny looked against Shavkat.
And Magny just embarrassed him too.
Yeah, embarrassed him from start to finish. I mean, he got the very good knockout of a compromised, I would say, Santiago Ponzinibbio, but still knocked him out, which is very impressive. Didn't even throw a punch against Khamzat, so that's completely out the window. But Muslim's not Khamzat. He's not doing that. He's not grappling in any way in this fight. And I think actually that's probably where Li Jingliang has the best chance. I know he's knocked out a clinical striker in Santiago, and he's done very well against people like Zach Otto or David Zawada when he body kicked him. Mm-hmm. But Muslim Salikhov, to me, is just that level above in striking. I think he's super dynamic. His turning side kicks are crippling. And the inside low kicks he does to just take away your base hand really is going to pay dividends because Li Jingliang relies on it so heavily. But do you think it's going to be a striking bout here, or do you think he's going to have to rely on some form of grappling like me?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that he's going to, in order to have his best chance of winning, I think he's going to have to rely on the grappling. I think that's going to be a problem. Muslim Salikhov is huge for this weight class.
Yeah.
Former middleweight, definitely shows it. I believe he was a former middleweight. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he sure looks like he was a former middleweight. For me, with Lee, he can definitely catch him, I think, on some of these counters, though. I think that is a big spot where Lee's is the faster guy here. I think he's maybe a little quicker, both with the movement and the punching in the spot, but he doesn't mix up his striking enough for me. And that, to me, is a little bit of an issue here. Like, I don't really recall him kicking very often, if ever. So he is, to me, with Salikhov, I'd like to see a lot of kicking in this game. I like to see a lot of body work in this spot. I think that trading in the phone booth is where Lee could catch him, but it's also, I think Salikhov is pretty damn good in there as well. But I'd like to see more on the outside striking from Salikhov in this spot. I'd be curious to see what Lee does if he gets him to the ground also. I just can't see him doing a whole lot on the ground. And Salikhov has a good get-up game. So for me, I do think that it's a tough spot for Lee. I don't completely discount the Ponzinibbio fight, but he was coming off death's door. And, I mean, Ponzinibbio was looking pretty good in that fight till he wasn't, honestly. And that knockout really came out of nowhere. So that, is a props to Lee. But
150 grand on it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think that what we've seen in the last couple fights of him not throwing a lot of strikes, he didn't throw a lot of strikes in the Ponzinibbio fight either. Didn't throw any in the Hasmat fight. Obviously, this is a different go around here. But, for me, I like Salikhov a lot. I'll give Lee credit because the Zaleski fight, he ended up getting that knockout in the third round, a really tough back and forth there. If he tires out Salikhov, he could get that finish late.
Yeah.
He's always dangerous. And Salikhov has shown a few fights now where he's tired out as the fight's gone. Cardio definitely looks to be a little bit shaky on Muslim. So I'll say that. But I think if this is mostly in the wheelhouse of Muslim, the striking, I think he just gets the better of him and matches on a decision. 2 rounds to 1, maybe even takes all 3, honestly. I just think he's the better larger, more diverse striker, and I just don't see Lee going with a heavy game plan of wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, it's for Lee, it's that left hook in that pocket, it's switching under, countering the right hand, which is Salikhov's
What he did
favorite.
with Ponzinibbio.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Salikov is all about that right hand.
Which, by the way,
Conquers
I
everybody.
picked Lee against Ponzinibbio in that fight.
You would need credit for that. Yeah, yeah. I picked Ponzinibbio in that one. So
I was all over Lee plus I think like 250 in that spot.
yeah, I do think Lee goes under the radar a little bit. I do think he's a very, very good mixed martial artist, but I just think Salikov just to me is he's shown that he can counter grappling very effectively. If someone tries to take him down, he just seems to shrug it off like it's effortless, but it's not discounting the attack. It's showing how good his grappling defense actually is. I mean, Staropoli was reaching for his life by the end because he was just getting tagged over and over. I mean, remember Ricky Rainey? I mean, that right hand over the top there.
Staropoli, Ricky Rainey,
Yeah.
Li Jingliang, a little better than those guys.
Yeah, exactly. So I would actually compare Li Jingliang's stand up to a little bit to Trinaldo. Just he's faster, heavy shots over the top, waiting for that pocket, waiting for you to come into him.
Muslim won that fight, but he didn't blow it away at all. Like he won it,
and that's how I see this going. It's exactly how I see this going.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's again, the odds are a little more reasonable here, but you're still looking at, I think, pretty big gap in the odds here. Minus 180, plus 155. Nearly a 2-to-1 favor on Muslim. I think in a fight that could be competitive. I like this much more, though, under minus 200 than we were seeing with a few of the other fights that we broke down. Minus 270, this should not be. Minus 180 makes a little more sense. So I do like Muslim here, but I could see Lee shocking the world much more with a counter KO than with the wrestling, though.
Yeah, absolutely. With the counter, Muslim is going to be on the front foot for this one for sure. He's not a counter striker; he's a pressure fighter. So, I agree. I think Muslim
be a good one.
Goes in.
Really good card overall. I'm excited about this whole card. I think there's a ton of good matchups. They did a good job of showing this on ABC too. I think these are two guys that be like, who the hell are these guys? And they're just going to go and bang out for 15 minutes.
God damn, I hope so. Awesome.
Or less.